Right now, as you watch this video, one of the world's worst humanitarian catastrophes is unfolding in Sudan. 25 million people, half the country's population, are facing extreme hunger. That's families eating once every 2 days, children dying of starvation while the world scrolls past.
People are surviving by eating rats and leaves.
Entire regions have been ethnically cleansed. The capital is a war zone. 11 million people displaced, the largest displacement crisis on Earth. More than Syria, more than Ukraine, more than Afghanistan. And almost no one is talking about it. This is the story of how Sudan fell apart while the world watched. To understand this catastrophe, you need to know that Sudan has been breaking apart for decades. Sudan is the third largest country in Africa, a crossroads between the Arab world and sub-Saharan Africa, stretching between the Nile River and the vast Sahara Desert. For most of its modern history, it's been governed by dictators and torn apart by civil wars. For 30 years, Sudan was ruled by Omar al-Bashir, who seized power in a 1989 coup. In the early 2000s, the world briefly paid attention because of Darfur, where government-backed militias called the Janjaweed slaughtered hundreds of thousands. The International Criminal Court charged Bashir with genocide, but he stayed in power. In 2011, South Sudan broke away, taking most of Sudan's oil wealth. The economy collapsed. Then, in December 2018, Sudanese people took to the streets demanding change. In April 2019, the military removed Bashir.
I, the defense minister, announced the uprooting of the previous regime.
Sudan erupted in celebration. After 30 years, there was finally hope for democracy, but that hope was short-lived. The military didn't hand over power. Instead, two generals made a deal to rule together. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, head of the Sudanese Armed Forces, and Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, called Hemeti, commander of the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. The RSF grew from the Janjaweed militias that committed genocide in Darfur. Hemeti rebranded them as a security force, but they were his private army, tens of thousands of fighters loyal to him personally. Hemeti became extraordinarily wealthy, controlling gold mines and smuggling routes. He hired out fighters as mercenaries to the UAE. By 2023, he was one of the richest men in Africa. For a while, Burhan and Hemeti ruled together, sidelining civilians and dividing resources. But by early 2023, both wanted total control. Burhan wanted to absorb the RSF. Hemeti refused. War was inevitable. On April the 15th, 2023, fighting erupted in Khartoum. Within hours, the capital became a battlefield. Fighter jets screamed overhead. Artillery shells slammed into apartment buildings. Most thought it would last days. 20 months later, it's still raging. The war spread nationwide. The RSF seized much of Khartoum and pushed into Darfur. The army held key bases. Neither could win. Instead, they settled into brutal attrition, with civilians paying the price. In Darfur, the war took a darker turn. Villages systematically burned, men and boys executed, women and girls raped on a massive scale.
My daughter Malak was sexually assaulted. The boy who did that is our neighbor. He took her to a farm in a remote area. He tried to rape her using a firearm, but someone passed by and saw what was happening. He intervened and beat the boy.
The Masalit and other non-Arab groups faced systematic massacres.
In Al-Janina is about finishing off the Masalit tribe. They destroyed all our neighborhoods there. They destroyed every place where Masalit are staying. Now the situation is horrible. Every morning you wake up, you hear about someone having been killed.
In El Fasher, Darfur's last major city not under RSF control, hundreds of thousands are trapped. The RSF has surrounded the city for months. Food is running out. Aid agencies warn of imminent catastrophe. Meanwhile, Khartoum, once home to 6 million, is now a ghost town. Entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble. The National Museum looted. Universities occupied. Markets abandoned. Millions have fled. Those who remain hide in their houses, living without electricity, listening to gunfire, never knowing if their neighborhood will be hit next. This is complete state collapse. When a nation goes to war with itself, every system falls apart. Sudan's currency has lost over 90% of its value. Prices have increased 50 times. A bag of flour that once cost £500 now costs £25,000. Factories looted, banks closed. The formal economy has ceased to exist. As of December 2024, 25 million people face acute hunger, more than half the population. That's mothers deciding which child eats today. Nearly 5 million are in catastrophic conditions, one step from famine. In some areas, particularly in remote parts of Darfur, famine has likely begun. Sudan's healthcare system has collapsed. Fewer than 25% of its hospitals operate. Both sides deliberately target medical facilities, a clear war crime under international law. Doctors perform surgeries by flashlight without anesthesia.
The situation here is difficult, to put it simply. We have limits on our water, on our electricity, on our medical supply.
Beyond war casualties, preventable diseases are spreading. Cholera outbreaks have been reported in multiple regions. Malaria, measles, people dying from infections that should be easily treatable. 11 million people, 1 in 4 Sudanese, have fled their homes. 2.5 million crossed into neighbouring countries, many walking for days through desert with nothing but what they could carry. The other 8.5 million are displaced internally, moving from war zone to war zone. They sleep in abandoned schools, under trees, in makeshift camps with no sanitation. This is the largest displacement crisis in the world. 19 million children haven't been to school in nearly 2 years. An entire generation losing their education, their childhood, their future. This war is fueled by foreign actors pursuing their own strategic interests. The United Arab Emirates has been the RSF's most important backer. Evidence shows the UAE supplying weapons through Chad and Libya. Why? Sudan sits on the Red Sea, one of the world's most strategic shipping lanes. The UAE wants influence over Sudan's coast and access to its gold. Egypt backs the Sudanese armed forces, fearing chaos on its border. Egyptian weapons and intelligence flow into Burhan's forces. Russia's Africa Corps, the rebranded Wagner Group, allegedly supplies weapons to both sides, chasing gold mining deals. Iran offers drones. Saudi Arabia plays quietly. Sudan's neighbours fuel or are destabilised by the conflict. Weapons flow across borders. Refugees pour into fragile countries. What about the international community? They've done almost nothing effective. Multiple ceasefires have been brokered, all collapsed within hours. Humanitarian corridors are negotiated, then violated. The US, UK and EU imposed limited sanctions with zero impact. Both factions block aid deliveries, weaponizing hunger. The world issues statements but takes no meaningful action. When Russia invaded Ukraine, Western nations mobilized tens of billions in aid within weeks. When Sudan collapsed, the world barely sent a fraction of needed humanitarian aid, and most can't reach those who need it. Why has Sudan, with the largest humanitarian crisis on earth, received so little attention? Not all crises are treated equally. Part is crisis fatigue. The world faces Ukraine, Gaza, Yemen, Myanmar. Public attention is stretched thin. Another war in Africa struggles to break through. Part is geography. Sudan is distant from Western media centres. Few journalists remain. It's harder to get footage, harder to tell stories that feel immediate. Part is complexity. No clear good guy. Both sides commit atrocities, but there's another factor we must name: racism and the devaluation of black and African lives. Studies show conflicts with black and brown victims receive less coverage, African crises receive less aid and diplomatic attention. When Russia invaded Ukraine, media described refugees as civilized, people who look like us. Sudanese fleeing genocide are called migrants, implying choice, not desperation. Sudanese people are no less deserving, but they've been abandoned. Sudan's collapse is a warning about where our world is headed. What's happening here? Failed democratic transition, militias more powerful than the state, foreign powers fueling conflict. This pattern is spreading. Sudan shows what happens when military forces become private armies. Hemedti built the RSF not to serve the nation, but to control gold mines and accumulate personal power. This privatization of violence isn't unique. Wagner across Africa, warlords in Libya, militias in Iraq and Syria. funding themselves through resource extraction. Climate change accelerates these dynamics. Sudan's collapse happens against increasing desertification and drought across the Sahel. More countries face similar pressures, resource scarcity combined with weak institutions. Sudan's collapse destabilizes neighbors. Refugees flood Chad. Weapons spread across borders. Violence is contagious. The Sahel, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger has experienced military coups. Armed insurgencies operate across borders. State authority is weak in vast areas. The international community is pulling back. Western powers focused on China and Russia are reducing engagement with what they see as peripheral regions. This is short-sighted. If Sudan fully collapses, it won't just be a humanitarian catastrophe, it will be a security disaster. Sudan sits next to the Red Sea, carrying 12% of global trade. It borders 7 fragile countries. As a failed state, it could become a haven for extremist groups and a source of massive refugee flows. Sudan is a test of whether the international community can prevent state collapse. We're failing. Sudan's war has killed over 20,000, likely far more. It has displaced 11 million, brought 25 million to starvation's edge, destroyed a capital and stolen a generation's future, and most of the world doesn't know. This is the forgotten war, not just because it's small, but because we've chosen to forget. 5 years ago, Sudan was filled with hope. Millions demanded democracy and justice. They risked everything. Some gave their lives for the dream of a free Sudan. Today, those dreams lie buried under rubble. But Sudanese people haven't given up. Aid workers risk their lives daily. Doctors perform surgeries in bombed hospitals. Teachers hold classes in refugee camps. Communities share whatever little they have with neighbours who have even less. They deserve safety, justice and a future, but they've been abandoned. The lesson of Sudan is brutal. When the world looks away, anything becomes possible. Genocide unfolds in real time. Populations are deliberately starved. Nations collapse. And if you're the wrong colour, from the wrong place, your suffering is ignored. Sudan is falling apart while the world watches. Some watch with concern, but feel powerless. Most aren't watching at all. The algorithm doesn't show them. The news doesn't cover it. The question is whether we'll continue treating some lives as valuable and others as expendable. Whether we'll keep allowing countries to collapse while we scroll past. Or whether we'll finally decide that every human life has equal worth and suffering in Khartoum matters just as much as suffering anywhere else. Sudan is the forgotten war, but it doesn't have to stay forgotten. What we choose now, whether we pay attention, demand action, whether we care, will determine not just Sudan's future, but what kind of world we're building for everyone.